Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to talk about Futsu Kebari. We're going to do two. The first is a classic Futsu style Kebari from Kurobe Headstream, peacock body, purple thread, black or brown hackle. Futsu Kebari are stiff hackle, cock hackle, rooster hackle. Futsu being normal or regular, meaning basically vertical. So right there, I was just sort of measuring head space, hackle space. Now I'm going to tie in my peacock herl. I'm doing two, stroking the fibers back to make the fibers stand up. The traditional way in which the Japanese tie this in is to take the herl and, like dubbing, spin it around the thread and then wrap the thread and the herl together. That's a way of tying in peacock herl that's come about because of tying flies in hand without the use of a vise. To me, the typical way I work with herl, pheasant tail, any of these kind of things on a hook is I wrap, as you see me doing it, using the thread to kind of keep everything in line. And then usually a rib, wire or something like that. In this case, I'm just using the thread as a rib, so I just wrap the thread back through as the rib, and then I'm gonna go with black. Black or brown are the traditional. Obviously, you can use any coloring pattern you want. A common modern variation now is to do a peacock herl body, like a dun or a cream or a light color, maybe even ginger, stiff hackle, and then a red thread for the head. That's a common one I see a lot in American tenkara anglers and even in some Japanese tenkara anglers. The hackle portion is thick. It's tied catskill sort of style. It's thicker. There's no tail here, so it's not going to ride upright in the orientation that it is here. It's going to ride butt down in the water, hackle on top, sink down into the film, or kind of rest there on the top. The fly is usually manipulated, various different sasoi techniques, so moved around, very versatile pattern to do that. Just being a little clean here. So the Japanese are not the only ones that have done stiff-hackled wet flies. There is a tradition in the UK that most people don't know about because there was an author who only wrote one book. His name is H.C. Cutcliffe, and for some reason a lot of his thoughts and traditions, the angling style that was in Devonshire, in England, at least he wrote the book in 1863, so in the 1800s, has seemed to have been lost. Odds are he was not an isolated character. So we're going to tie a fish in his style, and this is just a copy of the front of his book, The Art of Trout Fishing in Rapid Streams, H.C. Cutcliffe. Dr. Paul Gaskell, who you might know from Discover Tenkara, republished it with a lot of interpretation and explanation of some of the things that were a little bit unclear and some of the tying of the flies and the patterns. And this is his basic technique, and I'm going to use his technique, but I'm going to do that sort of modern Futsu Kebari with the red head, peacock herl body, and cream hackle. So he always used a wire rib, and so I'm going to tie the peacock herl in there. He does have one herl pattern in his list, but that's not the one I'm tying here. I'm just doing it in Cutcliffe style. So peacock herl body, I have 2 or 3 there. I think I might have 3, just trying to make it a little bushier. His flies were pretty bushy. And then I'm not cutting off the herl. I'm taking the wire rib up through the body section here, and then I'm going to tie it off, helicopter it. Cutcliffe always in his fur bodies, and I'm guessing even in his herl bodies, tied the herl through the thorax zone where he was going to put the hackle. So, and his hackle was usually a little bit longer, and while it was rooster hackle and therefore a stiff hackle, it was not the stiffness level that our genetic, beautiful whiting hackle is today. It was a much softer, my guess is a much softer style, and with a little bit longer, also a little bit more active in the water. So you see, I just did a couple more wraps there of the herl through the thorax after I tied in that hackle, and I doubled over the hackle before I put it in there. So in other words, I folded the fibers back on themselves so they were all on one side of the quill. And then I'm wrapping it through, again, thick, just like with the Futsu. The style is almost identical, and it's super, super interesting that these... Is there a common thread? I don't know. Maybe there is, Occam's razor says that odds are there's a tradition that has gone, unexplained, where patterns and ideas traveled back and forth even between Japan and England, but who knows? There's no real recording of this, but this is basically the style that he tied his flies is almost identical. So again, the red head there, as I tied off the hackle, clipped it off, you can see the hackle's a little bit longer. I'm using Indian Cape here, so a lower grade of rooster hackle, so it's not quite as stiff. It's a little more active, a little bit softer, a little bit more mobile in the water, and that's the fly. He would curl the fibers back maybe with a knife or, one side of his scissors like you would a ribbon. But this is that sort of Cutcliffe style of that redhead peacock herl Futsu and the purple one. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time. Bye.